Welcome to Big Thursday, Week 8 edition. And after an exciting week in the NFL, especially with that Seahawks-Cardinal game and the end of the 1 p.m. hour, we have now almost hit the midway point of the season. And today on the show, we're going to be going through our mid-season awards. Just be mindful of, these are not the real awards. So we're going to be going very interesting stuff, maybe some examples, best story, best name you need to know about, and best to be hired coach. We'll be right back with those.
This could be us. So back to what I was saying. Could be us.
So now we're back and we're ready. Best to be hired coach. Jesse, if you're the Jets next year because Adam Gase is going to be fired, who do you want as a coach? Here we go.
I don't think the Jets will pull him in, but Eric Bieniemy, he's a hot name for coach next year, but some people say, it's all Andy Reid in the offensive mastermind, but you have a guy that's been incubating in one of the best offenses on one of the best sidelines in the league. I think he's going to be the number one coach prospect for next year, and having an offensive mind, even if he's not the one calling the plays, being the number one guy on that Chiefs sideline, he still has a lot to offer.
I feel like that's the most obvious pick, so I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to go a different direction. Originally, I did have a college coach in this scenario with either Lincoln Riley or Brian Kelly, but that feels too obvious. So I'm going to go even more interesting. Defensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts, Matt Eberflus. Get to know his name. Top 5 defense in Indianapolis. He lost Malik Hooker for the year, and this defense is rolling. Darius Leonard wasn't even in, but for the past 2 years, this Colts defense has been well coached. He's developed great players in Malik Hooker and Darius Leonard from the draft. He's a great coach, a great teacher, and I feel like he leads this team in Indianapolis on the defensive side of the football. I like a team maybe that's looking for defensive help. Maybe it's the Houston Texans if they can't get Bieniemy, or the New York Jets, looking for that defensive guy. He's a laid-back dude. I really like this kid, Matt Eberflus, as a defensive coach in the best to be hired coach section.
I like that one. I've never heard his name, but now I know the name, so I'll remember that name. Next up, we have kind of on the opposite spectrum, a name that you don't know about, but you should. Some people who follow the league closely will know these names, but some people on the surface don't really know who these guys are. What do you have?
Yeah, I'm going to go Chase Edmonds out of Arizona. Kenyon Drake was the guy this year, starting off the year, and he just struggled. And you saw it in week 7. Chase Edmonds came out. He made a couple really nice moves. He looked athletic. He looked fast through the hole. And if I'm a fan or a coach, I want a guy that can just get through the hole, because often the running backs, if you can get a cheap guy that can be fast, you saw it with Raheem Mostert last year. That's what you need. And he's cheap right now, and Chase Edmonds looks very explosive. He can catch the football out of the backfield. Feels like a receiver and running back at the same time. Gets through the hole fast. I love Chase Edmonds and expect him to have a big second half, especially in this offense in Arizona.
I want to take another running back, and it's Myles Gaskin out of Miami. He's another guy that not a lot of people know about, but he runs hard. He runs really hard and is good at catching the ball out of the backfield and getting through those tight windows. I think that's the big qualities that you look in a running back. I don't know if Miami was expecting that coming in with this guy, but I'm sure they're happy with the result as they're seeing him play. So I think this is a guy, as you said with Chase Edmonds, that could really blossom in the second half of the season and make a name for himself. And not that the Dolphins are going anywhere that much. And, I think one thing with running backs is if teams are losing every week, like the Jets, the running backs can't be utilized in the fourth quarter in running the ball in those type of scenarios where some running backs shine. So I feel like same with Chase Edmonds, but more with Myles Gaskin. They're not winning many games, but he can still prove himself in the first 3 quarters.
His former 7th round pick out of Washington. Really like that kid out of Miami. Favorite? Oh, okay. Next, we got our favorite red zone dude. So whenever you watch NFL Red Zone, as we both do, who's your favorite guy that you're like, bam, I want to watch him?
Yeah, it's Alvin Kamara. I feel like this is a guy that I was super high on, in fantasy drafts. He was my number 1 guy. I felt like he was in a good situation. Drew Brees isn't throwing the ball downfield much. He's his number 1 option in the flat. And he will miss every first tackle. He will make a play happen. Even if he's splitting 70, 30% with Latavius Murray, he doesn't need more than that. So I think he is the number one running back in the league right now and will continue to be maybe even the scrimmage yard leader when we come to the end of the season.
So originally I had Kyler Murray in this spot, but I'm going to change it again, and I'm going to go with Chase Claypool. He is just so fun. Some of his catches, especially against Philadelphia, my least favorite team. So watching him kill Philadelphia automatically puts him in contention. But this kid, his TikToks are awesome. I love Chase Claypool, the way he catches the football down the field. He'll catch anything that Big Ben throws.
So next up, we have best story. These are the guys that either they're journeymen, they're getting to the tail end of their career, but they're still showing some fight. Who do you have?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ryan Fitzpatrick and that whole thing with Tua Tagovailoa. Ryan Fitzpatrick, what a year, and then he gets benched. It was such a sad story, very inspirational the way these two have gone back and forth, especially with the quarterback competition. A lot of drama, but the coach, Brian Flores, I totally agree with the move because it's Ryan Fitzpatrick. He'll give you 2 games good, 2 games bad. So I feel bad for Fitzpatrick, but he'll always be that journeyman, it feels like.
Yeah, and I'm going to actually, surprisingly, in some capacity, an award to a Jets player, and that's Frank Gore. Frank Gore is someone who has been in this league possibly longer than we've been alive and has continuously been a relatively good running back in this league. He's always gets ahead of the line of scrimmage. Even if a defense run commits, he will get a yard or two. And he looks good. He doesn't look old. He's still making cuts, and I think that's just a great story. A guy that was on the Bills for a while and Miami for a while, landing in the Jets and making things happen.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to go with best dude in a bad situation. So who's the guy that you really like, but you know what? He's got to go to a better team.
Yeah. Allen Robinson for me is a guy who I really do think is a top 7 wide receiver in this league, but is really just in a bad situation. You start with Mitch Trubisky. You know, he was getting by with him, but not a very good situation to start off with. And then you go to Nick Foles, and Nick Foles is passing the ball a lot deep, but none of those passes are connecting. They're all off. And plus, Allen Robinson's being doubled on every play. I think he has to go in a situation where he's the number one guy, but across from him is a guy that, you know, like a Calvin Ridley, a Juju, a guy who can be a wide receiver too, and shift the attention more like a 50-50 split and not be doubled as much.
But I feel like Nick Foles is such a good quarterback for those type of players. I don't know, like Jeffrey Aguilar in the Super Bowl.
You would think, but not when he doesn't connect on any of them.
Mm-hmm. All right, my guy is going to be the quarterback out of Houston, Deshaun Watson. This Houston Texans team is a mess. You see their defense. It's, I think, the worst in football, probably. Maybe up there with the Jets. And then on the offensive side, yeah, he's having some success, but he doesn't have an offensive line. He's no O-line, no defense, no coach. He's got Romeo Crennel, who just don't even get me started on him. But Deshaun Watson, he's got to go to a team that wants to build around him, that can build him an offensive line, that can build him a defense. And I think a team that has one of those two things that you just mentioned, the Chicago Bears, and I think Allen Robinson would really like that. I said that earlier in the year, but I feel like that fit with that defense, with that receiver. Maybe they build that O-line. I don't know. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But Deshaun Watson, he needs to go to a better situation.
Yeah, and our last category is a bit of a negative one, but it's least favorite player in the entire league.
I'm going to choose Gardner Minshew. I've said it on the show. He's the worst red zone player to watch because every time he just stands around, runs around, throws it, it always goes to 4th down, and he either makes a lucky throw or it's a field goal. So I will always and forever say Gardner Minshew is my least favorite player.
I'm going to take Cam Newton. Obviously, there's a big Cam Newton fan base, at least used to be, that loved him. But I don't know. Whenever he stands back in shotgun and his just posture, he just stands like he's not. I don't know. I always just get bothered by how he plays the game and his attitude to everything. I liked his story. I like seeing him back on the field, but I don't know. Whenever I see him just kind of stand there straight and not ready for the ball, he kind of just chills there. That always bothers me.
Yeah, I used to hate him like that or call him my least favorite player, but then I just felt like the story in New England, him taking over and the way he handled himself was a cool story. So I will not put him as my least favorite NFL player. We'll be right back for our picks. So welcome back. And for this week's picks edition, we're going to change it up a little bit. Instead of going through every game, we're going to give you 5 type of picks. One, we got 2 spread picks, 1 underdog straight up win of the week, 1 lock straight up win of the week, and then 1 bold prediction of the week. And let's start with our 2 spread picks. First game, Patriots versus the Bills. The Bills are favored by 3.5. Jesse, who you got?
I'm going to take the Bills on this one. I think Josh Allen gets back on track. I think their run game doesn't carry, but allows Josh Allen to not do too much, and they get the win.
New England's good at one thing, taking away your best thing. New England will take away Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, this Bills offense. They've struggled in the past couple of weeks. I think they continue to struggle. And Cam Newton and Damian Harris, Rex Burkhead, James White, they'll run the football against one of the worst run defenses in football. I like the Patriots to upset the Bills. They've had their number for 15 years, and Belichick off 2 straight losses. I don't know. This line's a little low for a reason. All right, next. Lock of the week, or next spread pick, excuse me. We got the Steelers versus the Ravens. CBS, one of the best games of the week.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Steelers in this one. I think they continue their undefeated stretch. I think they're a complete team. I don't really think they need much. And Big Ben hasn't really had to try that hard. So I think if they just do what they keep doing, they need to get Chase Claypool more involved. I think if they do that, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I get the Ravens in the here. Off a bye, John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson. I think the loss of Devin Bush will prove very strong in this game because I think the Ravens will have some success running the football, playing a quick offense, getting Mark Andrews involved. And I like the Ravens to continue to play really good defense. They have the number 1 scoring defense in football. Ravens at home, get a win. Steelers off 2 straight road games. So they played Tennessee, emotional win, and now they face the Ravens. I expect Big Ben to have a couple picks, and the Ravens win by 10.
All right, next up, we have the underdog of the week. Who do you have for that?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Falcons on Thursday night over the Panthers to win. I think Matt, especially after last game, the defense has played much better. If you look at this defense, I know the ending was a little weird, but they've allowed 23 points 3 straight games. That's much better than they were in the beginning. And against that Viking game, that was all garbage time points against a pretty good offense in Minnesota. So I like this Falcon defense. New coach, they come back a little bit against a team that they beat a lot in the past couple of years with the Panthers. So I think the Falcons, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, they'll take advantage of a young defense, and the Falcons get going with a win on Thursday night.
I'm going to take the Raiders over the Browns. I feel like, not going to say that Odell is carrying the Browns, but I think it's a locker room thing. Plus Baker, he's been very up and down, and he just had an up week. So you know what that means? That means he's going to have a down week. So I'm going to take the Raiders over the Browns, not just because of poor performance from Baker, but because of a good performance from Derek Carr. I think he'll utilize his weapons, and Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs will get going. And I think they'll have a big play with Henry Ruggs.
I love your pick right there. I think they're going to take advantage of this Browns secondary, and I think the Raiders get the win on the road as well. All right. Lock favorite of the week. So this is the team that you're like, besides, we're taking 2 teams out of this. There cannot be a Chiefs pick, and there cannot be a, what's the other game? Bucks pick in this game. So who's your pick?
I'm going to take the Titans over the Bengals. Now, one thing that worries me about this game is that the Bengals run defense is, they got some guys in there. They can clog up the line. So, the team that's running with Derrick Henry, I don't think it's going to be an issue. They're gonna clog that box, and I think they're gonna win that offensive defensive line battle. And Derrick Henry will run all over this team. And Ryan Tannehill in the play action, there's absolutely no way the Bengals can stop them.
AJ Brown, baby. All right, I like the Seahawks to come back after a loss on Sunday night and beat the 49ers. 49ers off 2 straight wins, but Jimmy Garoppolo has not thrown the ball in the air. Now they get Carlos Dunlap in there, which could be he's a sack machine for he was for the Cincinnati Bengals back in his good old days. New situation, he'll be the premier pass rusher. I think Jamal Adams might be back, so that might be a big help. And I think Russell Wilson gets things on track and becomes that MVP favorite once again. Seahawks beat the 49ers at home in a big divisional game, and they've had their number in the past couple of years, especially last year.
Yeah, and now on to our last category. Last section is bold predictions of the week. And for me, I'm going to take one of the big storylines for the week, Tua coming in as a starter for the Dolphins. They're going to play the Los Angeles Rams. This Rams team is not looking the same, especially the offense. They're not using their weapons well. And Dolphins, I talked about Myles Gaskin earlier. I think they do have weapons. Maybe they're not the big name guys, but they can get it done. Mike Gesicki, those guys. So I think Tua has a good opening game. He throws 2 or 3 touchdowns. He can rush when he has to run, and I think he gets the win.
That's not bold enough. No shot. No. All right, let me give you a bold prediction. There will be 7 straight up dogs winning this week. I'll go through all of them right now. Falcons already talked about. Lions at home against the Colts. I don't trust Phillip Rivers on the road. Stafford and the Lions have been playing well, and they're starting to run the football. Maybe that, and their offensive line is playing much better. So, and if Darius Leonard doesn't play, I think Stafford has success, and the Lions win. Then we got the Patriots winning on the road. I talked about that already. Next, I got the Raiders winning, as Jesse talked about. Dolphins, as Jesse talked about. The Broncos at home against the Chargers. Herbert on the road in a tough environment. Give me Drew Lock to bounce back. Jerry Jeudy has a big day. Noah Fant as well. And the Broncos get a win. And finally, the Chicago Bears. Saints and Drew Brees struggling out of a dome. A lot of uncertainty with these receivers. I think after a loss, Bears come back, play good defense, run the football a little bit. Nick Foles, big dick Nick, gets a win, 425 on CBS with Buck and Aikman calling it. I like the Bears to win, and I like these 7 straight up upsets.
All right. Wow, that is what you call a bold prediction. And as we usually do, we're going to finish off this week with our Thursday night game of the week, Falcons versus Panthers. Panthers are favored by 2.5. What do you have?
I already told you my pick. I love the Falcons this week. Jones, Ridley, they get going, baby.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. I'm going to take the Falcons too. I think this Falcons team clicks when Julio Jones is on the field. Hopefully he can stay on the field. Matt Ryan gets back on track, and they carry their defense to a victory.
All right, a great week. We changed it up a little bit this week with the big Thursday Week 8 edition. We're almost halfway through the year. I mean, that is crazy. In the NFL with all the COVID uncertainty, we have the NFL, which is great. World Series was awesome last night as well. I mean, why are you taking out Snell? We'll get into that later. But thank you guys for listening. Big Thursday, Week 8 edition.
This could be us. So back to what I was saying. Could be us.